Yeah, we obviously are really pleased with the outcome. We knew it would be a really fast start from them. They obviously had to win to keep their season alive. They, as far as I'm aware, were returning tonight to full health. They went with a really aggressive lineup, played with two forwards, played with a very direct approach in the opening stages, and it was everything that we prepared for. But unfortunately, we weren't able to deal with what they threw at us in the first 5 minutes, which is a real shame. But I would say from that point onwards, there was two ways that game was going to go. We were either going to crumble under what was a really intense atmosphere. It's as lively, energetic an atmosphere as I've been a part of in the MLS so far, and you've of course got the added tension around their situation, the fact that it was an absolutely do or die situation for them. So I think the fact that we were able to steady ourselves, that we were able to then impose ourselves on the game as it went on was really important for us. And obviously we'll take some big lessons from that. We'll take a lot of confidence from the way in which we were able to do that. And I think if we were to look back at the best spells of that game, of which there were a good three or four, I would say, where for long periods we looked very comfortable either with the ball or defensively, we'll be really pleased with that performance. I think it's a big step forward. But as I said in the build up to this game, this was as much about handling the atmosphere and the nature, the very unique nature of this situation, I suppose, where they absolutely had to win, and we could have affected their season with a win. So I was really pleased that we were able to do that, and I think we showed a lot of character, a lot of togetherness, and over the course of the game, a lot of adaptability and an ability to move toward being that team that we want to be, a team that can be much more balanced in how we play.
You sort of mentioned, particularly in the first half, there were a couple of transition moments on defense that were a little bit of a struggle. What do you sort of chalk that up to?
Yeah, well, they obviously played with we anticipated it to a certain extent, but weren't concrete on the fact that they would play with a front two and two very narrow wide players, which obviously gave our back four effectively individual matchups, and they played onto them in a relatively direct way. And it was the first time in a long while that we'd started a game as a back four and tried to press in roughly a 4-4-2 with some subtleties to it. And that did cause us some problems for sure. But it was as much to do with the real attacking intent and almost desperation that they attacked with, as it was to do anything sort of tactical from our perspective. But I did feel once we shifted as the game went on, then we were far more comfortable against their direct play.
What was sort of behind that decision to switch to playing four at the back or three at the back sometimes with Devin Padelford jumping up?
Yeah, we want to be as I've said, we want to be a team that can shift between a number of shapes according to the situations that we anticipate coming, according to the players that we've got in form available, and we want to be ultimately an aggressive team. We want to be a team that can press and can have more of the ball, can steal the ball higher up, and often when you're playing in a back five, that isn't as easy as sometimes it looks on paper. So it's been something that we've had in our mind, and obviously as I've watched Jefferson play over the course of the last few weeks and the month or so that he's been here, you see in him someone that, yes, he's not a fullback by nature, certainly not from an attacking perspective, but he can defend on the outside quite comfortably. He's athletic enough to do so. So I wanted to see how we looked in that shape, and in some senses good, in some senses we had some difficulties, but I think it was evidence of the way that we want to be as we move forward. A team that can adapt, and a team that can flex, and a team that can change quickly according to the way in which the opposition play and the situations that present themselves. And tonight was one where very quickly you felt that perhaps that very narrow front four of theirs would really overwhelm us. And I think moving to a shape where we could defend in a back five really helped. And as a consequence of that, we looked more solid. We had some good chances on the counter attack, and we also grew into the game in terms of our more organised spells on the ball. And there were some really nice combinations between Will, Hassani, and Joaquin and Robin, and that was good to see, because that's something that we've wanted, of course, do, and something that was really lacking over the course of that middle part of the season. Now we do look much more balanced for sure.
After tonight's game, can you think of any formations your team hasn't played this season?
Oh, I mean, tonight was a really good example of how I want to be as a coach, how I want our squad to look, how adaptable I want them to be. We've got, as was sort of demonstrated tonight, we've got lots of tools that we can use on the bench, players with various qualities. We've got ways in which we can try and keep the intensity of our defensive work up by making regular changes. And I think tonight was in that sense a real visible show of what I would like us as an organisation to be really. And I sense because we've really struggled obviously in our ability to make successive changes to really adapt over that period that hopefully is now behind us. And I hate continuing to refer to it because we're a very different team now. But I suppose that's probably the last time where I can show the very visible contrast between where we were and what we want to be.
Joaquin made his first MLS start tonight. What did you see from him tonight?
Yeah, I think he really grew into the game. It was exactly as I'd sort of expressed to you guys beforehand, as I'd anticipated with him that he will need to develop from the perspective of how he adapts to the defensive demands of the way in which we play, and also the demands that the league puts on players, and the physicality of the league. I think the pace of the game sometimes, the relentlessness of the attacking play, how many transitions there are. I think that's something that he's going to have to get accustomed to. But he showed what a good player he is on the ball, what a difference maker he can be. And I think when he was close to some of the other creative technical players in the middle, then he had some really nice moments. He's obviously got an eye for a final pass, and I think if I could have scripted the night for him, it would have been something along those lines where he has a feel for perhaps the adaptation that he needs to make defensively, and intensity wise shows his quality on the ball, and is able to play an hour or so and come through unscathed. And I think that's a really good platform for him.
Given that Kelvin Yeboah scored one goal and sort of set up two others, has he even exceeded your wildest hopes for him at this point?
I think you get a sense of a guy who means business when you have a conversation with Kelvin. I think the first time Dennis and I went out for dinner with him when he first arrived, you got a real sense of a guy that is here to make a mark, and wants to use this as a stage to show his ability. He hasn't had a home as a club, I wouldn't say, in the sense that he's been a lone player for a good chunk of his career. And I think he really wants to come here, and he wants things to spin around him. He wants to really be the leader of the team, and he's done that tonight. And he's done that since he's been here, and he's added a lot in the dressing room. He's added a lot of intensity. He's added a lot of healthy challenge, I think, which is really good for everyone. And when he's needed to step up, he has done. And I think he'll be a really good player for us. I couldn't say anything else at this point, because I also know what he does behind the scenes. He's very professional. He really pushes himself, and you see it on the pitch. He's a big difference maker. So the fact that he's been able to make such a mark in such a short period of time is testament to him and all the intent that he arrived with.
That's all I've got for you. Safe travels. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. See you soon.
Thanks, Coach. Safe travels home.
Am I shutting the laptop here or not?
Yes, you may.
Now leave it there. Let it go. Let it fly.
See you guys.